primary schools in Magenche Ward, that the matter is completed now, and the auditor disagrees, I am inclined to take the position of the auditor. So one part of a recommendation, clerk, in our report to the House, I think we'll present the observation that there seems to be some ineffectiveness in the institutions. Governor, when do you intend to have the audit committee in place so that we can put that on record? Because we must make that recommendation, we must make that observation, that the reason why we have 68 issues is because the institutions have collapsed.
Looking at the advert, I think it's among the documents which is provided here, when it was out, when they're supposed to be giving it us. In Annexure 40D, there is an advert there for therefore it's something which is ongoing, Chairman. And this one depends on my public service board to handle as fast as they can for me to have the committee. But as it was, as I just indicated earlier, Chairman, the Department of Audit, which is headed by the Director, they are on doing this until we have this committee. Therefore, it's the only time we can say it's complete. I can only depend on the speed of these people they can be able to move, and I'll ask them to speed up to give me the committee on time.
That does not give me any comfort, Governor. You are the Chief Executive Officer. You can't come to Nairobi and tell me that you cannot provide guidance to institutions within your county, because it then appears that you must first properly constitute the Public Service Board for it to do the interviews.
No, not necessarily, Chair. Already they have a quorum.
Yeah, so why can't they have 10 minutes?
Let me give the comfort of the committee that in another 21 days, for sure, I would be having the committee in place, because those are 3 weeks.
Senator,
that's okay. No, he has mentioned that because I was going to be reminding him. He has just told the committee that last week he received a briefing on the process. So after being briefed, then you must have formed an idea as to when this will be concluded. So he says in 21 days, and we can go with that.
Yeah, so since you've indicated 21 days, I think that will form part of our recommendations that will be taken to the House, but we must highlight that observation on failure of institutions. Members of County Assembly, please take the report back that the Senate believes that you have a very powerful role in oversight and ensuring governance in county governments, but we are concerned that you are not exercising the powers that you have. It is the members of county assemblies that have allowed Senate to carry on processes that ideally should be done at the county level. I would have been happy for Governor Simba Arati today for us to discuss perhaps the implication of the delayed passage of the additional allocations bill, because that is a current conversation. Money meant for Flocker, money meant for Kisii, money meant for roads, money meant for community health practitioners is not reaching counties. That really ought to have been the conversation for us to discuss what impact that is having on the affairs of Kisii County. But now we have to look at ECD classrooms and pit latrines that are incomplete in some corner of Kisii that Wambua has not gone to. I know he's been to Kisii, but there are some corners he has not gone to. If you had an audit committee, these matters would have been filtered, and the Auditor General would have gotten responses. The Auditor General is not idle for him to populate 64 issues. He only does that when he does not get answers. So, Auditor, don't stop. Don't stop. What we have done is the right thing. It's a governor who has failed to put in place proper institutions to ensure that these matters are addressed. And it is also the county assembly that could have done better in terms of ensuring that these projects are oversighted. Now that you have made that general observation on institutions, we can go to the specific report, starting with the report on the county executive. We had agreed that we are to look at the first issue, and then we will be giving guidelines on the other matters. So start with unexplained voided transactions. What was your observation, Auditor General?
Thank you, Chair, for that guidance. Paragraph 1.1 on explained voided transactions. The issue is we reviewed the Integrated Financial Management Information System, that's IFMIS, and the payment indicated 604 transactions amounting to Kenya shilling 232,358,845 were voided during the year 2023-2024. Information provided indicate that the Control of Budget had approved the payment of the voided transactions. Management did not provide an explanation as to why the payments were voided after the approval.
Governor, you will take us through your response.
Allow me to ask Mr. Chacha to respond to this, Chair, to read that response.
Okay. Chacha is head of which function?
Finance officer in the Department of Finance, Chair.
Okay, what was the response?
So, Chair, we did.
Now, we shall proceed as follows. I think what the procedure has been, now that you have a written response, the governor, you'll read the written response, but your officer can explain. Yeah, so you'll first respond.
Thank you, Chairman. Management response. The management scrutinized the voided transactions and has since given reasons for the voiding as follows. Consolidated, the management had processed 2 transactions of 722,327 and 50 cents for the same payee. The 2 transactions were later reversed and a single consolidated transaction prepared of 1.44,655. And requested funds of the year-end transaction of Kenya shillings 156,797,781 shillings 25 cents were processed and forwarded to internet marking, whose corresponding requisition never materialized at the end of the financial year close. These were subsequently avoided to prevent overstatement of the expenditure at the end of the financial year. An approved withdrawal of 41,028,415 of fund presented to the Control of Budget were not approved for withdrawal. These transactions were voided to avoid distortion of cash and cash equivalent at the end of financial year. Pending tax obligation, a payment patch included transactions of 27,733,231 shillings with unresolved tax obligations. Voiding was necessary to avoid overstatement of expenditure. Wrong amount invoiced, 2 transactions totalizing to 5,354,758 shillings were processed with wrong amounts. When this was noted, the transaction were voided. Attached, you will find the annexure. And Annexure 1, that said you have avoided the transactions giving reason for avoiding. 1.2, non-adherence to year-end cut of, no, that is it. That's the response, Mr. Chairman, for that question.
Auditor General, you have interacted with that Annex 1 and you have looked at that response. What is your position?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Although management explained the genesis of the voided transaction, the process voided arose after the Control of the Budget has approved the payment, which is expected to be effected. That this process posed a high risk. And for our side, if you look in terms of the responses, where we are saying that the management avoided of expenditure, the issue of distortion of the cash equivalent, wrong amount which has been invoiced. So for us, we are looking in terms of the high inherent risks that emanate from that process. And that's why when we talk about the voided transaction, which has gone through the whole process until the approval of the budget, ought not to be avoided if indeed the systems are really working effectively. That's our position.
Senator Onyonka.
Thank you, Chair. Governor, my question will, if you'll allow me through you, will be for your CC Finance. Is you given me the permission?
That's okay, given that the question, he may not answer, there is another person.
Okay,
that will
in
answer.
case he doesn't, he can come back to you.
Yeah.
CC Finance, how many transactions have been voided from the question that has been asked?
Yeah, there are over 712 transactions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The answer that Governor has explained, he has only talked about 6 voided transactions, which means out of your 700, in fact the report says the voided transaction are 616. If you remove the one Governor has talked about, which are 6, you are left with 594 voided transactions. Are we together up to that level?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you. So the question I ask you therefore is this. If you look at the voidings and the recommendation which is on page 1, the recommendation of the Auditor General, page 1, briefing notes for County Public Accounts Committee on the Auditor
You
General.
might not have visibility of that, but I believe that that must have been the management letter. Auditor General?
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, just
You have page 1. Oh,
no, that has been prepared for the committee.
oh, it's for our internals.
Yes.
Thank you. The question is this, CC. Why were you voiding the payments after you had gotten approval by the control of budget to pay certain people? What made you change your minds about who you were to pay? Isn't that what you're saying, OAG?
Yes, that's
Thank
the
you.
position.
What made that change of plan and change of, because under the PFM Act, like they're saying, you were supposed to have gotten the approvals and therefore the payment was recommended, the control of budget actually approved payments through the IFMI system. Why then did you stop those payments?
Governor?
Chair, allow me to ask the officer who was in charge of voiding those transactions. He'll be able to be, to answer this question effectively as asked. Chacha.
Thank you, Chair. If I may start with the Honorable Senator Onyonka's question on the amount that His Excellency has not explained. If you look at the list of voided transactions of 604, we've categorized it. They have been categorized as per the attached annexures and now reclassified as per the response we've indicated here. Now, on particular issue of approval from the controller, which amounts to 41, Chair, this is an exchequer request that was sent to the controller budget nearing the closure of financial year. And when the control budget, I'm happy he's in the office, when he's considering a request, there are a number of issues that he needs clarification. Where the clarification comes late or the timelines are not bound when we are closing a financial year, the best thing is to drop that exchequer request. So it, in essence, when you are closing a financial year, you need to clear the system. It is inevitable by voiding, Chair.
That is 41 million. What
Yes.
about the rest?
The rest I'll also explain, Chair. For instance, the unrequested funds of the year end of 156, Chair. You understand, Chair, we have a habit or a culture as Kenyans that when we are nearing the closure of financial year, that's when you see most of the accounting officers processing things. So they might process those things when we are nearing the end of financial year, but if they have not been sufficiently supported, we might not present them for controller. So leaving them with this.
At what point is a transaction voided?
Chair,
Is it after approval of the control of budget or before?
Your Chair, you cannot avoid a transaction that has been approved by the control of budget. What we are saying that all these
You are
transactions,
disagreeing with the observation of the Auditor General, because
Right.
the Auditor General says these 604 had been approved by the control of budget, but were voided, and you have gone ahead to give a reason. So what are you saying? Are you disputing what the governor has read? And that's why we wanted the governor to be the one to read the response.
Chair,
What is the version? You disagree with the Auditor General, or you stand with the explanation given by the governor?
Chair, if I may correct myself, I've said we have categorized the voided transactions as per the annexures, and each and every figure corresponding to 232 that has been raised by the auditor, we've explained the reasons why they voided.
We have specifically asked about the 156 million, and it has given rise to the question, when you forward to internet banking,
Correct.
is that after approval by the control of budget or before approval of control of budget?
That is before, Chair.
But nonetheless, the auditor who came to the ground has told the Senate that the control of budget approved those transactions.
That's why we are saying in our analysis, the auditor is correct by finding out that out of the 206 transactions, were the 232 million that were voided, 41 million was had been requisitioned. But this requisition was sent at the end of...
on the 41, you have explained that one. We are talking about the residual amounts.
The 150...
Because it's either we are agreeing with the Auditor General or disagreeing with the Auditor General. Auditor General, do you stand with your report that these transactions were voided after approval by the control of budget?
Sure, that is the true position, because if you look even in terms of the responses, when you say the last paragraph, where you are saying that KZN 5.3 million were processed with wrong amounts, you see in terms of the responses, when this was noted, the transaction were voided. So, in terms of even the last paragraph itself, where we are talking 5.3 million, were processed with wrong amounts.
Governor, where was this Mr. Chacha when the auditor was in Kisii? For him to give that long story is giving the Senate.
Chair, first I want to let the auditor know that processing is not like, approval. You can process and it's not approved. That should be the understanding. Number two, Chair, Chacha was the acting